Well, hello everyone. Back for my weekly video. In terms of what's going on campus, things are still going relatively well. We did have our first cluster this past week. Cluster is 5 or more cases that are related to each other, and we did have our first cluster. So we have to continue to be vigilant and continue to social distance, continue to use masks, and do not let up. Okay. We're still very far away from any of the trigger metrics though, and so we're doing relatively well, but let's just keep it up. In terms of any big news this past week, the governor just this morning, today's Monday, just this morning released some really exciting data that African Americans who had a huge disproportionate share of both the COVID-19 cases as well as deaths early on in March and April, that difference in terms of new cases has been eliminated. The actual data is that blacks make up about 14-15% of Michigan's population, and in terms of new COVID cases, only about 8.2% are from African Americans. And in terms of deaths, only about 9.9%. And again, blacks make up around 14% of the population. The deaths earlier on was up to 40% of all deaths were in that population. So, this is really exciting news. The governor did come out early and appoint a coronavirus racial disparity task force. I've mentioned several times on this video that this task force is actually doing things. And without attributing cause and effect on every little thing that the task force has done, certainly I think it's fair to assume that it's had some sort of impact. The reason why I'm really excited about this news is that it's been almost 40 years, 37 years to be exact, when then Secretary of Health and Human Services Margaret Heckler released her report, the Secretary's report on Black and minority health. And that was the first time that health disparities really took the national spotlight, when she highlighted that at least 60,000 excess deaths in Black and other minority populations, deaths that would not have occurred had the rate of death in these populations been the same as in the white population. 60,000 excess deaths. Almost 40 years later, that gap still remains. And what this shows in terms of what the governor has recently, just today, put out, is that if you focus deeply on this problem, and if you work together and really try to tackle it, that you can make progress. And I think that gives hope for being able to address the broader issue of health disparities that's continuing to plague our nation. So I'm very excited about that news. In terms of books, I have to tell you, I started a book. I didn't like it. In fact, I'm having a hard time remembering its name, something like Ordinary Grace or something. I tried to soldier on. I read over 200 pages of it, and I finally just said, I'm not enjoying it, so why am I continuing to try to read it? It did get good reviews. That just goes to show that just because other people like it, and you may not like the same thing. So I just went back to another book which I had, called One Amazing Thing. It's a book written by an Indian author. I can't remember her name right now. And it's a book about a student, Uma, who was in the visa office to go to India. Her parents were from India. She was in the visa office when there was an earthquake. And there were about 7 or 8 other people with her, and they were trapped together because of this earthquake in this visa office. And each started telling a story, and you really start getting to know these people very intimately in terms of how they, because of the stories that they related. And it's a fascinating read. I was able to read it in just a matter of a day or two because I was interested in it. So if you read something, if you start something and you don't like it, nobody's making you have to really read it unless it's one of your study assignments. So go ahead, feel free to switch up and do something that you really enjoy. Thank you very much, and let's continue to be safe, continue to social distance, continue to wear masks, continue to do the good job that you're doing. See you next week.